Hello everybody and welcome to another and much anticipated Bunker Chat. It is so good to be back in front of the camera here with you all in the bunker. My name is Olikrummi and I am joined here today by two fantastic guests. Of course, we have the staple Gummi, our co-founder and creative director at KARDS, and then our chief marketing officer, first time appearance, Ingó. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. We're happy to have you. Now, before we dive into everything, of course, some of you might be new to the Bunker Chat and not know what this is. This is a place where we talk about everything KARDS, what's been happening, what's about to happen, and then, of course, we end off by answering your questions. So be sure to shoot them off in the Reddit thread. If we don't get to them during this broadcast, we'll try and answer them in text in the Reddit thread as well, so don't hold back. But let's jump into things. We have a lot of things to talk about. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been like 4 months or something since we were in the Bunker Chat. Mm-hmm. We've been hard at work. And let's start with the biggest topic to really not the biggest topic, but the biggest change to recently hit KARDS, which is diamonds. So we're going to start with you, Ingó. How has the transition gone and kind of how are we feeling about diamonds?
It's been going really well. We went really carefully into this because, we've seen some games implement this in kind of very obscure ways, and we didn't really want to do it like that. So we tried to do this as kind of clear and on the table as we could possibly do it. And we worked with the community, got a lot of great feedback from the community, and so far this has been going really well. Of course, maybe to start with it, why we did this change. Is that we are now going to mobile and we are on few different platforms, and we are a fairly small team, and every time we're doing new offers or new products or anything like that, there is a lot of work that goes into it. But if we have this system, this allows us to do it on one place instead of going through all of the different platforms. So this has been going quite well. So there were some minor things that went out that kind of, as soon as our community pointed it out, we corrected it. There was, for example, things that were going for 50 diamonds that should of course been 48 diamonds, $5 equivalent, so we changed those things. And net, our community is now paying less for the product, so that's also really good, and kind of we're really happy about just most of the things that have gone through there.
Yeah, I think you touch upon a very kind of important part there, right? It's like, and this may sound weird to people that are not a part of the company, but my involvement when it comes to diamonds is very little, until it's actually live, right? So I was very proud of us as a company that we didn't fall into those traps of putting in those kind of predatory, what we call predatory tactics when it comes to kind of abusing this hard currency system. So I was just really happy that we as a company were able to respond immediately in tweaking those price points once the community pointed that out. So kind of to your point, how much did we think about that and work around that when tweaking all the numbers to make sure that didn't happen?
The beacon of why we did this and what we were always following was, this is to ease the system on our end as well. So kind of this was a bit of a hurdle we knew for our players, and we've seen kind of some other products use this in, like you say, maybe predatory ways, and we made sure that every step of the way, kind of, are we comfortable with what we're doing here? Does this make sense? Is this something we can comfortably stand behind and promote and release? And kind of worked with the community, got a lot of fantastic feedback as well. There are various angles that we don't necessarily see when we're kind of working on it. That's why we had kind of a significant leadway into the release of the diamonds into the system, and we onboarded that feedback and made sure that the hard currency worked the way that we really wanted it to work.
Awesome. We have diamonds now, but the kind of work on the purchasing experience is not done. What is the kind of what are the next steps when it comes to this overhaul of the diamond system and the purchasing flows and so on? Maybe to you, Gummi.
The next steps are maybe just some tweaks in the store that we are currently working on that will go out pretty soon. The experience has always been pretty raw, also before diamonds, the confirmation windows you get and things like that. So that's definitely the most immediate thing coming out in this regard. But then again, we are also looking at pretty drastic overhauls of the store coming before mobile. So that is, but that's a little bit further away.
Yeah. I'm going to sneak in a question from the audience here, Ingó. How many of the diamonds, or the $2 million of diamonds, have we given out?
So we've given it all out, but we're kind of getting there in terms of how many people have come in and claimed them and started to use them. But that is a significant number that we've seen so far. Over 30,000 people have come in and claimed their diamonds. And we're seeing more people come in every day as well, so there's always kind of people coming and going every month. And of course, as we go closer to mobile, we're expecting to see more. So we'll reach that number before you know it.
I like it. All right. I mean, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about in terms of hard currency.
No.
No.
I mean, just to talk a little bit about the feedback. I mean, we of course got the feedback. Not everyone was happy with the thematic decision to have it diamonds, but I would like to maybe just say that, I mean, we went back and forth with that and discussed various options. But I think in general, in game design and visual design as well, picking the most kind of familiar choice is very often the way to go, even if it's maybe not the 100% perfect thematic fit or something like that. So that weighed a lot in our decision to go ahead with the diamonds, and I have to say I'm really pleased with how they ended up looking and how they feel, and I think everyone will get used to them.
Yeah, you know what they say, diamonds are a soldier's best friend, right?
Yes.
No,
Who
so,
hasn't heard that?
But I was one of the things that came up in the internal discussions when we were debating the name was the actual historical relevance of diamonds in the Second World War, and that kind of surprised me. You know how much they were relied on, as cutting tools, as parts for machinery, and there was a mass need for diamonds in the conflict, even though they weren't viewed as maybe a luxury commodity in the same way that they are today, right?
Yeah, I agree. I was
definitely
pleasantly surprised about that research.
Yeah. It's one of these days no guys, diamonds are thematic, I promise. All right, let's shift our focus now to a much anticipated thing, which is the mobile version of KARDS. We're now starting to see, real movement and traction happen on that side. Now, before we start talking about the beta periods and what's going on, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's been going on in Helsinki and just what that looks like now, and kind of just how we've ramped up the mobile development over the past 4 months since we did our last Bunker Chat.
Yes, I mean, that was certainly a bit of a uncertainty factor, or a bit of a, we weren't really sure how easily we would be able to find the right people and all that, and how much time it would take. So we were really pleased that has gone really well, and we have already a really strong team there. 6 guys, 4 of which are programmers. Then we have a mobile UI UX specialist, and then the office lead, and he is also a mobile growth manager with a lot of experience. This is a highly experienced team, which also has some more junior people as well, into the mix, younger people. So it's a good mixture. And yeah, I mean, I was actually just there last week, meeting up with the team, and we were doing a workshop on the UI and UX. A couple of us went there, and yeah, it was great. We're getting along very well with the Finnish office.
And I mean, Helsinki and Finland in general, just kind of the mecca for mobile gaming, right? I mean, is that why we ended up going there? There's just so much talent there, right?
Yes, definitely. There is considerable lack of mobile experience in Iceland. I mean, it's already a fairly small talent pool here, but this is a segment of that is even smaller. proportionally. So it was kind of a no-brainer. We had to get the talent from somewhere else. There's several options, but I mean, like you say, there is so much talent and experience in regards to mobile in Finland, Helsinki. And in addition to that, I mean, because we already had some Finnish investors and we know some Finns, we felt that there is a certain good cultural bond between Icelanders and Finns. Maybe it's the climate, the weather, or drinking habits or something.
And a lot of drinking. Yeah, it's basically the same country, right?
And that seems to be proving itself the right assumption as we go along.
All right, now let's talk about what is about to happen, and I'll throw it over to you, Ingó. Like what's going on in terms of the beta periods, the testing? How's that going to look like in the coming months?
Yeah, or maybe focusing more on the coming weeks. So we signed up, people were signing up over the last week into the first phase. I'm expecting to send out emails to people tomorrow for kind of where we will give them additional information. We will be breaking it up where iOS players or kind of the Apple phones will start. I think it's on the 19th of this month where they will start. We will be starting with those phones because there are just fewer phones there that kind of we have a more controlled group, if you will. And then the following week we will be starting with the Android phones. And again, there are just so many different phones on the Android that we just wanted a bit more time to flesh some things out on that front. So people should be expecting additional information tomorrow that they're in, and then kind of the following phases, and then they will be sent emails on just how to sign up, how to participate, and how to give feedback. And
awesome.
And we will also be kind of listing out kind of what to expect. I mean, this is the early beta. There are a lot of things that are missing out of this version.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of things that we are iterating on. But I mean, like with the diamonds, like I talked about earlier, we want to get people into the fold as soon as we can and get the feedback sooner and kind of allow them to show where we are, see where we are, and then we can iterate on it together instead of kind of involving them maybe too late. I mean, we've seen some instances where we've done that, where we've not included our community in time, and I think most of the time when we've included them earlier, things have been a lot better.
No, I absolutely agree. And I mean, I think you make an important point there as well, right? Like, we're opening up this beta, or we're trying to get players in, like, literally as soon as we can, right? Not like at the point where we can present a completely polished experience and we're looking for incremental additions or feedback. Like, we're getting you in as early as possible into the mobile build so that any like errant things that might be wrong on any of the screens that's just out of scope for us to test 100 times and 100 times over will be surfaced, and that you guys can provide as early feedback as possible in terms of the redesign of the layout and the different flows and just how the game feels on mobile.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. I like that. And I mean, would you say that is the largest challenge that we are facing when it comes to bringing the game to mobile, is the fact that, like, when you're operating with not just smaller screen sizes, but a wide range of screen sizes, right? Because you're now not only talking about phones, but you're sometimes talking about tablets, and you're sometimes talking about people hooking their stuff up. Is our current UI capable of dealing with that, or is this going to be our biggest challenge going into mobile?
I would definitely say our current UI is not capable of handling that. So there will be some pretty drastic overhauls of big parts of the UI, which you will probably in the first versions, like the test we're starting, the first one there will be no drastic changes there. It will be just we're scaling things a little bit and or stuff like that, but in the later iterations there will be bigger overhauls where we are kind of doing more long-term tweaks to the UI that will kind of be sustainable for various screen sizes and different platforms. So yeah, I mean that's definitely the whole UI and UX is definitely one of the main challenges. That's a fair assumption.
And then if I had not signed up already, so I missed the first phase of testing, but I want to be a part of the next phase. Where do I go and you know what do I do?
Yeah, I mean you can sign up for the next phase already. I mean I think you have the link, so
Yeah.
I'll hand that over to you.
I'll post it in Twitch chat for people to see.
And yeah, just sign up, and you will not be in the first iteration, but absolutely be part of the next one.
Okay, I'm very much not logged into Twitch, so I'm not going to send it to Twitch,
Yeah,
but
nice.
it's basically kards.com/mobile_beta, right?
Yeah.
There you have all the information you need. One important thing that a member of the mobile team sent me today is that they're still working on the min specs for kind of future tests. So if your phone doesn't meet the min specs that are kind of listed there at the moment, if there are any, don't fret. Still sign up. You know, tell us that you're interested in the game, and we will of course try and lower those specs as much as we can.
Yep.
All right, I think that's about it for mobile. At least kind of about what's happening right now. I am supremely excited about this. We did a test, you know, internally the other day. Everybody got a chance to play around with the game on mobile, and I am beyond excited to see our players get this on their phones and into their hands and see what they have to say about it. Yeah. So before we jump on into the next segment, I have a short clip of some mobile gameplay that we're going to bring up on the screen, and Gummi will maybe give us some context into kind of what we're looking at and what some of the design challenges that we're dealing with at the moment. And keep in mind, all of this is, of course, very work in progress. This is from the internal current build that isn't even ready to give out to you guys yet. So if there's anything that has to do with any type of like graphical glitches or something, like don't worry, we will have them fixed once it's live. So let's just roll the clip. So there you can see it. This is on mobile, guys. This is screen recorded on an iPhone.
So, I mean, you can definitely see there immediately the hands and the board cards are way bigger here than on the desktop. Positioning is not really accurate yet there, but and then there are some other, you know, there are no shadows there and things like that will come later. So it looks a bit flat, but you can see here kind of the general layout, how it will be. Another little thing you see there is the crosses there on the right of the cards. These are the state or ability icons that are typically beneath the cards, floating in the desktop version. This is not the final design, but we will probably be placing those on top of something and using the space on that axis instead of beneath the cards, just because on mobile the main space constraints are on the vertical side. So we will try to use the space, the horizontal space, a little bit better. And you know, when we figure out exactly how it works the best, then we will probably change it also on desktop, because we want the game kind of to look and feel the same, even if it's, you know, not exactly the same.
I would say, like, you know, the main thing that I notice here as well is like you clearly have less space to put the cards in a readable way, right? But at least when I'm looking at this scene, I'm able to see all the cards that I have in hand in a good way. I understand what they are. I'm able to see the board. So kind of from those perspectives, we've maybe tackled some of the early challenges that mobile shows us, right? That's hovering a card, right? Basically clicking on it and being able to see how it looks.
If you highlight the cards, if you hover them, you know, which will probably be like tapping them or tap or holding. Then we really, they're almost full screen, you know, to use the vertical space. Then you can have a readable version. Another thing you can see also the stats, the attack and defense type icons. We have increase the size of those a little bit because, of course, on a small screen, they get pretty small, and they are, of course, the thing you always need to see and understand to understand the board situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in how the cards behave, how the hand behaves, and how the cards drag, and it all needs to be very accurately timed and snappy and feel right, you know. And we are really committed to figuring out, you know, that it feels good and intuitive, and as you would expect it to.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I think was interesting on that. So like a little bit of the sides was cut off because of the aspect ratio, unfortunately. But like I was overall, when I was playing the game on mobile, I was just very impressed that we were able to still kind of give you that kind of feeling of playing. But what surprised me, and I had never thought about this before, is that you can't hover on mobile, right? Because there's no like mouse, right? So you actually can't hover. So I think that's something that, you know, these types of small things, this is why we needed an experienced mobile team, because I don't think any of us realized that you don't have hover on mobile until we kind of stumbled on it in the development process, right?
Well, I mean, if you played, you know, some of these other games on multiple platforms, of course, there are these quite traditional ways of handling that we can refer to, and I mean that's also what we're doing. Of course, we're not inventing all the wheels ourselves. We are looking at how the best other CCTs do these things and picking what we think fits for us.
Yeah. All right, let's table now the mobile discussion. Let's take our attention to more content, right? So we just recently released Battle of the Bulge, World at War release. It featured, among other cards, the absolutely insane King Tiger, which is probably, I think, like the social media post that we've made that has gotten the most likes and distribution from the get-go. So I hope players are enjoying that, but that also included, of course, a new table prop, a new battlefield, a temporary game mode, and we have another release coming up relatively soon. Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about that one, Gummi? Give us a sneak peek.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a release coming. We're not gonna say the date here, but it's coming pretty soon.
If you said a date, Ingó would walk across the table and slap you. So let's leave it.
But it's a similar release. It is a part of the World at War series, and it will be called Global Conflict.
Oh.
And what that is referring to is kind of expansion of certain empires that was happening before and during the war, and you know the kind of colonial, if so to speak, ambitions of some of the nations. And it will include Japan and Britain, France, Italy. And they were all either before the war or during the war quite active in expanding into exotic places around the world, which then unfortunately became battlefields as well during the war. But yeah, that's the theme. So
super interesting, and we can expect like a similar bundle here as we have around kind of previous World at Wars.
Similar mixture of new and old cards and some a battlefield and some table props and stuff.
Awesome.
And alternative artwork, of course.
We don't have any more information to reveal on this. I'm sorry, guys. This was all I could squeeze out of Gummi and Ingó here with such short notice. But I hope that you're excited. Global Conflict coming soon to cards.
Yes.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. All right, now before we start answering some of your questions, I wanted to take a quick moment to give you all a little bit of an update on the tournament scene. So tournaments so far in 2022 have been absolutely off the hook. I've been surprised myself as to how crazy these some of these matches have been gotten. I feel like there's a few things that I want to highlight that I believe kind of indicates that we're on the right track, and that's like we're seeing a lot more diversity in terms of decks. You know, if we rewind about a year, we did have an OCC, I think, where we had like 5 deck types total, you know, but now we're seeing people bring a variety of decks from one turn kill decks to control to aggro to mid-range, and it's kind of all over the place, and this has created just so many fun matches. The second thing is we've been seeing a lot of new names make it up into the kind of higher echelons of competition. And for me, that indicates that there's a healthy competitive layer happening kind of right below the top level, that the KARDS Opens are functioning well, and that people that are there getting competitive experience are finding opportunities to compete elsewhere in the ecosystem, which is really good. So just around the corner, this Saturday, we have the second qualifier for KARDS Open 11. That is a free-to-enter qualifier open to all. You go to smash.gg, you search KARDS Open, and you will find the event there. There you can sign up. The second qualifier, as I said, will be this Saturday. It's going to be a Swiss round with 8 players advancing into the top 16. That's going to then be played a few weeks later. Extremely excited. We already have 8 very strong players qualified to the top 16, so going to see who's going to challenge that. If you've never played in a KARDS tournament before, why not give it a shot? Just make sure to set your expectations, you know, that you're not going in there to win, but you're going in there to have a good time and learn how to play KARDS in a competitive setting. Then shortly after that, on the 23rd of April, we have the April OCC Finals. That's going to be broadcast as normal, live right here on twitch.tv/KARDSCCG. And when it comes to the broadcasts, I want to thank everyone in the community for your continued awesome support on these broadcasts, because we've been breaking viewership records, basically, you know, broadcast after broadcast, in terms of concurrent viewers and total views, and viewed minutes per minute of broadcast. So I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in and being a part of this. You know, you guys are the reason for why we're doing all these tournaments and doing all these broadcasts, and seeing you enjoy them just gives us added confidence to continue. All right, now let's move on over to the questions and answers. Now, we did collect questions through a Reddit thread that was posted and announced in the announcement article on Steam. We received quite a few questions there. We might not get to all of them here. If we don't answer your question live here, then check back on the Reddit thread in the next couple of days, and we will probably have it answered there. But to begin with, for you, Ingó, any sneak peek for the 2nd anniversary of KARDS that is coming up right around the corner?
Yeah, right around the corner, next week. So we're going to celebrate with a double XP day on the anniversary date, and we're also going to put the DLCs, the Steam DLCs, on a discount, quite a generous discount as we've used to do in the past, as well as some specials in the store. Yeah. So double XP, baby.
Double XP. I love double XP. Double XP are the days where I go and grind KARDS. It's one of my favorite, like, I believe I said this to, I don't remember who it was in the team, after we did the first double XP event. It was one of my favorite kind of grinding experiences that I'd done. I think I went up like 80 levels in Germany in a day or something, but I did also just grind for 8 hours straight, right? All right, question number 2. Will draft mode ever get things such as rankings or leaderboard, perhaps showing total win count, or the long-awaited for ability to use card backs or gold cards in this mode? To you, Gummi.
Yes, the short answer is absolutely yes. All of the things asked for, yeah, definitely. We have wanted to give more love to draft for quite a long time. So this is definitely in the pipelines. When exactly we will get it out, that's a little bit harder to say. We are, of course, like we always, you know, excuses, mobile. We are working, prioritizing that above most other things. There's a lot of work to be done still. So, but yeah, hopefully we get to this soon.
And I mean, I think it's okay for us to be, you know, completely honest on this, right? Mobile is our top priority at the moment when it comes to feature development. So I mean, yes, we definitely want to do this, but for a lot of these kind of features that are on the table and we all agree that we want to do, a lot of them might have to wait until shortly after mobile, right? So let's keep that in mind, when we're just talking about this. Another question here, have you ever thought about bringing different types of game modes into cards to you, Gummi?
Yeah, absolutely, as well. And we are actually already working on some endeavors in that direction. So, which is also, competing with, further development of draft and so on. So, yeah, but we will have a new game mode soon, permanent one. And it is based on the, you have seen the events coming with the World at War releases, where we changed the rules a bit and we, completely change kind of the game, shake up the game, and so this will be something that will be, I say permanent, but I mean it will not be permanently active, but it will be a regular thing.
Yeah. I remember when we released Behind Enemy Lines, I immediately bought the premium version, created a mobilized deck with the Commandos Keepers, and then played that mobilized deck in the event, so that I had 4 Commandos Keepers. And it was a fun time. It was a fun time. But I mean, I think it's like the reason for why we're using those events in the way that we're using them is because we don't have, the bandwidth to create that permanent mode right now. So this is just a great way for us to test this out. So for everybody that engages with those temporary events, please give us your feedback and let us know what you would like to see and what you liked and what you didn't like about those game modes. That helps us tremendously in designing these future experiences.
Yeah. Maybe to add to that, we are also very much looking into a single-player game mode that might also be coming relatively soon.
Ooh, interesting. All right, question number 5. This one has a very fun answer for you, Gummi. When can we expect the alternative art cards choice you were working on in November?
Yeah, this refers to the being able to select which of the alternative cards you want to use and so on. It's it's yesterday.
Yes, you can expect it yesterday. It's always fun when we can answer like that.
Yeah, I wish I could answer all questions like that.
All right, we touched upon this a little bit earlier, but just quickly again, for you, Ingó, is there a set phone requirement and scheduled date for the second mobile beta yet?
No, it's not. We've not locked it in, but soon after the initial ones. So hopefully we'll be seeing them in next month.
Yeah, so go to kards.com/mobile_beta, sign up if you want to stay up to date on all the movements, including, when there's new tax packs, when there's new testing periods, all that kind of stuff. You'll get all that through emails if you are on that list. Coolio. All right, question number 8. We've seen both regular expansions that focus on every nation and World at War expansions that focus on more specific nations. Moving forward, should we expect expansions to be broad and put equal focus on every nation, or do we expect to see larger expansions that focus on more specific nations?
The World at War releases were kind of a bit of experiments, where you're not buying random packs, but rather specific cards, and I think we learned from those. Whether we will continue with that exactly the same model or go into something closer to the older, bigger expansions. I cannot really say at this moment, or something there in between, or something a little bit else. I think the thing is, which I can say clearly is, or certainly is, that we will continue experimenting and figuring out what is the best way to deliver cards and new content into the game.
Okay, makes sense. Here's one question that I reached out to the mobile team and got an answer to. So when developing for mobile, do you optimize the game for mouse, keyboard, and large monitors? If not, you need to consider that people also use phones, connecting monitors, and peripherals. So the answer on that is that we are primarily targeting the native resolutions of devices and are not intending to support custom resolutions on mobile devices, at least not in the immediate future. I mean, as we have kind of stated a few times today, we are heads down and we're working to get this out. So these kind of possibly classified as kind of quality of life improvements and additions that we can do in the future. And in terms of peripheral support, that's also something that we aren't putting a lot of emphasis on for the initial release. But if we're able to get it working natively or without the Herculean effort behind it, then we will. So this is something that we are considering, but not necessarily prioritizing at the moment, as we are heads down in getting this out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
All right, then I have a few questions as well that I ran through the dev team that I have answers that I'll go through here. So there was a question that was asking, are you going to get a quality of life update that focuses on things like the buggy friends list? So the answer there is the friends list is being worked on and improved, and these changes will likely be released alongside the mobile release as they tie in with some work needed to make the game work effectively on mobile. The weird out-of-date deck maker. Well, we're working on that as well, and that ties into the mobile development as well. And we had just actually today, had some demos on early redesigns on that screen and how that might look and function on mobile as well. So that is definitely there's movement on that. But again, we won't likely see this until around the mobile launch as well. So settings, giving more options. This was something that was pretty hard to comment on, right? So if there are any kind of settings that control existing stuff in the game that you would like to see in the options menu, by all means raise those things, but we are not looking specifically at improving the settings menu at the moment, right? Decks glitch out and get multiple HQs. Well, in general, we're always working to improve the performance of the game and reduce the amounts of bugs and glitches. We'd love to know more about the kind of click and scroll issue that is mentioned above in that thread, but the multiple HQ bug should be fixed. So good news on that one. Now for you, Gummi, will you make other side factions like France, Italy, and Poland main factions in the future?
No, probably not. I think we've answered this one, or this has been normally asked a few times. I think we will very likely stick to the 5 major powers that are already in the game and add more allied nations. This is just in terms of finding, the number of weapons, tanks and aircraft and things that these other nations had were just way more limited than these 5 major powers that kind of fought through the whole war. So it would be very hard to kind of upgrade, Poland, for example, into one of the major nations. Just for that reason.
They wouldn't really be able to compete with the diversity of cards available within other main nations, right?
No, exactly, yeah. And some of the ones that, France, they were, they of course were very active in the war at the very beginning, but then they kind of played a different role with the Free French and so on, but they didn't have much in terms of tank development or aircraft development during the later stages. So there is this, it's just this limitation of the history and how it went a bit. Yeah,
And that kind of ties into this next question. We've also answered this one in the past, which is, would you add more nations like China or the Czech Republic? And the answer is always the same. Yes, we want to add more nations, but we need to be cognizant of the fact that we're not a fantasy game that can just invent a new fantasy vehicle that was a part of this and have unlimited resources. We have to work timely and well with what we have available and do it in an order that makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But there's still, there's a lot to go there. It was not named World War for reason. So most of the nations in the world were involved in some way. So there's still a lot of things we can do there.
Cool. Here's another question. I think you've answered this one at some point in the past, Gummi, but could we add an auto mute setting at the beginning of every battle? It cuts communications automatically until we establish it manually. So it's basically people that want to opt out of human contact.
Yeah. I think the decision why we didn't do that is kind of because we want to encourage people to use the emotes a little bit, and it's kind of, I would assume that very few people would actually opt permanently out of this type of communication, and maybe some players would kind of accidentally do it, and then they are without emotes for the rest of their KARDS life. Yeah. I doubt we will do that.
So this player's wrist and fingers need the continued workout of cutting communication at the start of every match. It's fine, dude. You'll get ripped fingers, right? It's like, I've cut communication so often.
Yeah.
Ingó, putting you on the spot. When is the mobile version coming out? No betas, no nothing. When is it getting released?
That's a great question. I like your questions. It's a good question. I'm going with no comment for this one.
Okay. I mean, we haven't nailed it down, right? Target is this year.
Yeah.
Oh, this year, absolutely.
Okay, we won't give you a more detailed date now. This year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have more stuff here. Any news about the mid-season championship or other changes to the esports scene? Yes. So there won't be a mid-season championship this year. Not in the format of a mid-season championship, at least. We are looking at opportunities for, a big competitive event or a competitive event that kind of fits that scale around the mobile launch. There is, however, to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of moving targets around the mobile launch, right? Like, when is it going to be ready, all that kind of stuff. And until those dates are locked down, it's really hard to start nailing down any plans around the competitive event, right? What happens if we schedule it for, September, and then the launch moves into October because of, uncontrollable factors? Then we're, pretty much left holding the bag on a big competitive event that we're not able to do in the way that we would like to. So I would say, we just need to keep an eye out for what happens here. But something around the mobile launch is something that we want to do. We want to encourage you all to kind of pick up the phone and play. And I also want to just see you guys play and compete on mobile phones, right? So what that looks like, we just don't know yet. And then there was another one to esports. Are there any plans to create a power ranking system for top players to determine seedings for invitational tournaments and the like? The short answer is yes. Over time, as the competitive scene grows and matures, there is a tipping point where you just have to section the ecosystem more. You have to build out the layers, because it wouldn't be fun for me to play football against Cristiano Ronaldo. He would just crush me, right? That's why I'm not in the same league as him, and I don't have a chance to match against him in competition, right? So in a similar way, this is something that will happen as we start growing in terms of scale and maturity. And I would say the biggest thing that would prevent us from doing something like this now is just the size of the ecosystem and the need for it. I'm pretty happy with kind of the curriculum that we have set up for the rest of the year. I think it kind of captures a lot of it. We are, of course, also working on things like community tournament support programs and so on the side. The problem just always comes back to the fact that we're still a small team, and a program like that has the potential of creating a lot of manual work that if we don't do, then we're letting you guys down. And so it's kind of a tricky system overall. But reach out if you want to do a tournament in the community. Reach out to me, let me know. I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it. But for now, not doing power rankings. Now I have a question that's going to go to Gummi first, and then Ingó second, because this is not about the specific thing. It's a generic question. Is there anything you've been working on and are especially proud of that you want to talk about?
That's I would have had to prepare for that one. And there are so many things I'm so proud of. I mean,
if you want to think, I can start if you guys want to think, because I'm the only one that's seen this question before, so I've prepared an answer.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it isn't the one thing. I mean, the team that we have, it's just amazing to work with a team, the quick turnaround. I mean, I was working at a fairly large company, I mean, CCP Games, a lot of us work there, which is a larger gaming company where things often take a long time to get through, and they get stuck all over the place. While the team that we have here it's a fairly close-knitted team. We work extremely well together. And kind of a good idea gets through quite quickly, and we're able to kind of maneuver it nicely through things. And often, I mean, like we talked about the diamonds before, a fairly kind of difficult thing. I mean, we discussed it quite heavily because hard currency isn't necessarily something that people are super happy about it. And we had a lot of debates internally about it and discussed kind of how we wanted to see it, because we kind of all agreed of the necessity of it and how it went through. So that is a good example of just how the team came together, kind of worked it out, brought in the community, interacted with them, and delivered a good end product kind of to the community. And a lot of these things where kind of I think it is kind of the team, the community, and the collaborations that we have there, I think is what I'm really proud of and happy with.
Good answer. Yes. You could almost be a politician, Ingó.
Hey.
Yeah, it's like I asked you what you are proud of, and you said the team. That's like leadership 101, right? All right, Gummi, your turn. If you don't say the team now,
follow up on that?
He's on a tough spot now.
I mean, for me, it's very much the feedback, the positive feedback from you guys, the players. I mean, of course, everyone is not always happy about all the details of how we do things, and the Steam reviews go up and down and all that. But the fact remains that the majority of them are very positive, and there's a lot of really heartwarming comments there about people that really passionately like our game, and I mean that's just always kind of gets me like so happy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not going to answer. I was lying that I had an answer, so I mean I was just trying to be nice. But another question here. We're about to reach the end of this. We have about 5 minutes left, so we'll probably take one or two more questions. So, can you make a list of what type of ladder behaviors are banned or allowed and their punishments? Examples: account sharing, boosting, sniping. Also, to what extent can you detect these actions automatically? So, I would say it would be very counterintuitive for us to reveal what of these activities we can detect automatically, right? Because then we just let the bad guys know what tools we have to find them. Now, of course,
know everything.
Now, of course, account sharing is prohibited in the terms of service for the game, so that should not be happening. That would also get boosting, right? Because boosting basically means that someone is playing on your account. I mean, it could theoretically also mean that someone is like remote connecting to your computer and playing on your account, but that kind of comes down at the same spot. Even though you're not sharing your account details, you're sharing access to your account, and that is against the terms of service. Then you have like sniping. Sniping is something that's basically impossible to validate, and it's kind of difficult to do in KARDS as well, right? At least in like battle royale games, you can see that like the same person found that guy like exactly where he was hiding 10 games in a row or whatever. And you can see a lot of like failed queues and stuff, but that kind of is just in general pretty difficult. But in terms of what is banned and what is allowed, a lot of this should be covered in the support documentation as well as the terms of service. So yeah, that's kind of the answer on that. One more.
Wasn't there someone that asked about the recent symbol changes with the rising sun and that stuff?
Yes, did we not do that?
No,
Did I skip it?
discussed it yet.
Okay. Yes, okay, then question 4, I had it as question 4, maybe I skipped it. Why change Japan's flag?
So,
And remove the swastika,
yeah,
right?
first of all,
yeah.
it wasn't only about the rising sun, it was about both. We did remove a lot of instances of swastikas as well at the same time. This is just like we explained in the patch notes. I mean, it is just the reality we live in. We are going out on multiple more platforms with our game, including the app stores and all that. And they have pretty strict regulations when it comes to these symbols, whether we like it or not. It is kind of. Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a lot of choices. I would actually just put it like that. I mean, and for us, of course, most important is to get the game into the hands of as many players as we can, and run a healthy game. I mean, we are a fairly abstract World War II game already. We're not like a historical simulation, so even if we have our own opinions on maybe symbols in general, I mean, this is not not a really important fight for us to keep these symbols in. But I understand, of course, people that are interested in history and so on, that they don't necessarily like this change, but it is what it is.
And we've also seen in the past, I mean, we've kind of, when we've been streaming and things like that, we've been blacklisted and shut down in the past because of this. So it's not just the platforms, which is kind of one of the driving factors now, but we have been kind of, I would say, on the fence, I would say, for this for a while, but we didn't really kind of want to do some of these changes, but kind of due to the kind of where we're heading and what we want to do, these were the steps. And I completely agree with a lot of the players that kind of, I mean, most people understood why we did this, but it's kind of sad that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the nail in the coffin for me is the fact that like once the inclusion of these symbols have started to introduce risk for players that want to create content and share content around our game. Like me as the influencer guy, like at that point I start drawing the line, right? Because like I think it would suck for an influencer that gets into cards and starts creating cards videos to all of a sudden get banned on their platform and lose their chance to make revenue or content because of this. Yeah, it's kind of a compliance thing more than anything else. It's not something that's born out of our want or need to try and like whitewash history in any way, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm glad you reminded me of this question because it was an important question.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen, not everyone is happy about it, but I hope everyone, most people will understand.
Yes. And we are indeed live for those watching in Twitch chat. We just have all the questions answered or asked ahead of time on Reddit, so that's why we haven't been answering all the stuff that you've been shooting at us in Twitch chat. But remind you, go to the Reddit thread and write in your questions there. I'll make sure that these guys take at least 10 minutes tomorrow to go in there and type out some answers for new questions that might have popped up. But any last words before we leave? Anything that you want to get across?
I'm just super happy you finally allowed me to come to the bunker chat, and I've been kind of on the door knocking for months, almost years. And
you've been in the naughty corner for some time.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
No, I always love it when we get new faces. I mean, now we've had Alfred, we've had Maggi, we've had you. Now we just need to start bringing in more and more people.
We need to bring in some of the Finns.
Yes,
has also been here.
Yeah. Ooh, we can bring in the Finns. That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. Bring in the Finns! All right, well, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. That's going to be it for this Bunker Chat. Oh, how fun it was to sit back in front of this camera and talk to you all and just talk about what's happening in KARDS. There's a lot of excitement with the team, and I hope you are excited for the future of KARDS as well. But until next time, thank you for watching.